Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay, you gotta swallow the mic. My name is Amber Duke. My pronouns are she, her. I'm proud to be executive director of the ACLU of Kentucky. I'm really happy to see smiling faces. Angela's gonna pull up a picture here. The last time that I was in Lexington for a major speaking engagement, I was not greeted with a lot of smiling faces. So Angela's going to pull this photo up.
You present at the bottom.
Oh, thank you. So, if you can see there, that's me there in the corner in the orange, and I was presenting at a council work session when the city of Lexington was talking about whether or not they should invest thousands of more dollars into flock cameras. And so this is me testifying that the city should not make that investment, and those are some members of the Lexington Police Department that were not too pleased with the testimony that I had to share. As folks know, the council did decide to move forward with those cameras despite those faces that are there. I do enjoy a relationship with the leadership of the Lexington Police Department, who do reach out to us to ask us questions about their policy, and obviously we don't always agree on everything, but we do have a good working relationship. Everyone at the ACLU of Kentucky is really excited to be here tonight. We are actually kicking off our 70th anniversary celebration here in Lexington with all of you. So we will be traveling to 7 cities this year and into next year to celebrate this anniversary, but it was fitting, I think, to start here in Lexington. For years, when the ACLU had a chapter structure, there was the Central Kentucky Civil Liberties Union chapter that was very active here in Lexington. I've had some conversation with folks in the room who were a part of that work. And it would be impossible for me to name all of the individual members and supporters who have been partners in the ACLU's work here in the Commonwealth, but I do want to call out a few. Keith Elston is here. Keith, if you want to stand. That Keith had registered for this event because he was a chapter leader here, he was a board president, he even served after leaving Kentucky for a little bit as an executive director at the ACLU of the Dakotas, and I learned tonight also at the ACLU of New Mexico. So thank you so much, Keith, for all of your work here in Lexington, the work that you continue to do, and just know that you're just such an important part of the organization's history. I don't believe that Roberta Harding is here. I don't think she's here. I didn't see her tonight, but she's a person here in Lexington who's devoted a lot of time over the years to abolishing the death penalty. And if folks with connections to UK law know a UK Hall of Famer, Carolyn Brack, who is a person who worked with the chapter to educate hundreds of folks in Central Kentucky about the Constitution generally and would do Know Your Rights presentation. So thank you all so much. The work that has happened here in Lexington and Central Kentucky, the work that has happened in communities across Kentucky has brought us where we are here today. We're an ACLU that has 13 full-time staff members. We have 19 board members. Staff and board members, wave your hands. We've got like a good grouping of folks. We have over 5,000 card-carrying members of the ACLU here in the state of Kentucky. We have hundreds of volunteers, everyone working to uphold the rule of law and to safeguard our most precious freedoms. Tonight, as the slideshow has been moving through, you may have seen the slide that said fighting back, fighting forward. That is the theme that we have adopted this anniversary year to describe our work in this critical moment. So first, which I was talking to some people about this and folks had not heard, the ACLU of Kentucky has filed litigation against the Trump administration. So our affiliate is also joined by the ACLU of Virginia and also the National ACLU filing litigation against book bans that have happened in Department of Defense education activity schools. So these are schools that are on military bases, and after the president signed his anti-DEI executive order in the very early days of his presidency, which seemed like hundreds of years ago, but it was just about 100 days ago, when he signed that ban, the Department of Defense started making changes at the schools that they are in charge of. So that included no longer celebrating Heritage Month. So Black History Month assignments that had been assigned were canceled, and students were told they weren't going to turn them in because they weren't doing them anymore. Libraries were closed and books were put in quarantine. I don't think we know at this point all of the books that were pulled off the shelves and are no longer available to students, but that happened. And also changes to curriculum. So we know information about human sexuality has been pulled out of some of the classes, and students no longer have access to that information. So as I mentioned, we're joined by the ACLU of Virginia, which has some of these schools, and the National ACLU, and there are schools around the world that are being impacted by these policies. So our legal team filed a motion for preliminary injunction. Our hope is that we can get some of the curriculum restored, get some of these books out of quarantine, because of course these students are actually preparing for AP exams. Students are preparing for things that they may potentially be tested on, that they no longer have access to the books or materials that they need in order to test them. So we were very proud in the early days of this administration for our ability to file a piece of litigation against the president. We are still in court here in Kentucky, fighting for the right to bodily autonomy. We are working to restore health care for trans youth. I think it was mentioned, there is a Supreme Court ruling that is expected next month that is likely to have an impact on our litigation that is Kentucky-based, so please keep an eye out for news on that. We are also in state court working to overturn the 2 abortion bans that are blocking access to care here in Kentucky. So folks may have followed the roller coaster of us representing health providers, the Kentucky Supreme Court, and a pretty unprecedented ruling saying that medical providers did not have the right to bring those claims on behalf of their patients. So we went off on a search for a patient plaintiff. We had a brave Jane Doe who stepped forward. We had to dismiss the litigation because Jane Doe's fetus didn't have cardiac activity. And we went again for almost another year working to find another patient plaintiff that was willing to step forward. So about a week after the election, because nothing else was going on, we had a very brave Mary Poe who stepped forward, and we have filed that litigation in state court. Thanks to the folks in the room who I know were involved in the fight against what I now call the original Amendment 2. This is the ballot initiative that was defeated here in Kentucky that kept anti-abortion language out of Kentucky's Constitution, which is what allows us to bring the case that we have in the court today. So I know that people here in Lexington knocked on a lot of doors, made phone calls. Thank you to anyone who is involved in that effort, because it truly is what enables us to bring this challenge. Fighting back also means empowering Kentuckians. So this calendar year, we have distributed over 3,000 Know Your Rights cards here in the state with information about people's rights when interacting with ICE and other law enforcement, the rights of protesters to have their voices heard. Know Your Rights information on our website has been accessed and shared thousands of times in just the last few months, and so we are grateful to be a trusted source of this crucial information. And we're not only working from a defensive posture, we're also fighting forward. So internally, we've just launched a comprehensive strategic plan, which is focused on safeguarding democracy, challenging systems of oppression, and supporting developing leaders from impacted communities. And it was pretty amazing because we did most of the work on our strategic plan before the election. And we had questions from folks of like, oh my gosh, you all just finished that and this election just happened. Are you gonna have to go back to the drawing board? And it's like, no, we really are just gonna be doubling down on the things that we talked about because it's more important in this moment than ever. So we're not just in a defensive posture dealing with the fights of today. We're really working to build power, to build leadership in communities so that we can rebuild our democracy and move forward in the future. We're also taking time to build on impactful work that we have done. So I am excited to announce tonight that we are taking our very successful amnesty court model, which was developed in Louisville over the past couple of years, and we're bringing it to Fayette County this fall. Folks may have heard about the jail deaths crisis that we've been experiencing in Louisville over the past couple of years. We've had dozens of people who died. We had one horrific week where we had 3 people who died at Louisville Metro Department of Corrections. And in a myriad of things that we were doing to address that issue, one of the things that we did was launch a series of amnesty dockets. We did this in partnership with community partners and justice partners as well. The thought behind it was, let's slow the flow of people coming into this troubled facility. We've had 3 dockets. We've had hundreds of thousands of dollars of restitution that we've been able to pay off for people so that they can get out of the system. We've been able to have people who've been walking around with bench warrants hanging over their heads for things like failure to appear, to be able to come into court, get those things taken care of so that they can move forward with their lives. And so my colleague in the back, Kungo, if you'll wave your hand. Check him out back there. Kungo has been traveling here and having meetings with judges, prosecutors here in Lexington. I think probably next week we're going to be ready to announce the date of when these amnesty dockets are going to be happening here, and we're going to be reaching out to all of you. So part of what makes these dockets so successful are the community support. So we know that people don't show up to court because they need a reminder about what time to get there. They might need transportation to get there. They might need childcare so that they are able to participate in their court date. In Louisville, we've been able to work with a network of coalition partners to provide those wraparound services to make the amnesty court successful. So we are looking to all of you who are in the room, if you are a part of organizations that would be interested to help with that, individuals that can give time to making calls and giving court reminders, please see Kungo in the back. He will be happy to hear from you, and we'll be putting out information about that too. Fighting forward, of course, Omar mentioned this, includes the hundreds of actions that the national ACLU and affiliates have taken since January to stop unlawful overreach, and as Omar talked about, the good news is we're winning. The courts move slowly, but we are having a lot of really important wins. Fighting forward looks like what you all have been doing in Lexington, with thousands of people coming together in the streets week after week, in solidarity against government overreach, and we're seeing the pictures and videos go viral. I think Rachel Maddow had some of them in her show. So you all are receiving national attention for mobilizing and standing up, and of course that inspires other people to join the work. So I will wrap, and I think some of our other board members are our Lexington board member hosts are gonna hop up, but I think if we, we're working in the courts, we're working in communities, where people are showing up in the streets, and I think that if we all keep fighting in all of these different spaces, our dream of a truly free and democratic Kentucky and nation will one day become a reality. So thank you all for being here.